thing that the government won't give you, or sorry, the bank won't give you a mortgage unless you also have purchased house insurance. Does that make sense to you?
Are you supposed to purchase house insurance?
Yes. Well, and it'll become effective on the day of ownership, right? It's so many, like if you've ever bought a house, like you can actually have paid for your house. Well, you purchase the home and then you put the down payment on, but maybe possession isn't for a month or two, right? Or it might even be 3 months if the old owners don't want to move out right away. So you're kind of in this limbo state. You just have to have proof that you've bought home insurance that will kick in on that 3 months from now. Does anyone know why the bank would say we are not giving you a mortgage unless you also purchase house insurance? Can anyone think I know it's hard if you haven't heard. Yeah?
If the house burns down and you lose it, then I'm not going to get money back.
Right, because you got to remember that at the beginning of a house, again, I'm going to put myself in this position. Let's say I purchased a house today and I put a $25,000 down payment. So $25,000 down payment, we'll say. And my house is worth, the house value, the total value of the house is, I don't know, let's say $250,000, okay? That's about the average home price in Winnipeg, about $250,000. So, if I saw my dream house was worth $250,000 and my down payment was $25,000, how much is my mortgage? How much did I have to borrow from the bank to cover the rest? $225,000. Everyone okay with that? Okay. So this is the mortgage loan. This is the amount borrowed from the bank.
Kim,
Yeah?
Mike told me to tell you that you guys
Oh, thank you. Thanks. So this is the amount borrowed from the bank. So really what I did is when you enter, I'm borrowing the money from the bank, but really, you know what that means? The bank owns more of the house than I do. Agreed? This is the bank's portion of what they owe. Like the bank owns this much of my house. Because you're kind of in a partnership with the bank, right? Until you pay it complete off. I own this much of my house. Together we both own it, but if something happens, if the house burns down and I don't have any insurance, the bank is out $225,000, right? So they will only give me the money if I have proof that I've insured it. If the house burns down or something horrible happens, the bank will just recover these costs from the insurance company that I dealt with, right? I'll get my money and they'll get their money. But if really, again, it's a partnership between you and the bank of your house, your partners in the ownership, and they want to make sure that their investment is insured. So that's why you don't get a mortgage approved until you have house insurance. It's always a good idea, right, to have house insurance. Now, tenant insurance is something a little different. Most of you are tenants because when I asked how many of you owned your home, I think one person put their hand up. So that means you're tenants. Agreed? How many of you have tenants insurance? Just a couple? Yeah? Do you mind telling me, Crystal, why did you get tenants insurance?
Because my neighbor or something had fire.
Yeah.
I'm covered. And
Yeah.
they're not as
Yeah, because you're living in a block with other people. For people who didn't put their hand up, why did you not get tenants insurance? Because they're both valid. Like, why does someone choose to live without tenants insurance?
I didn't even know there's such thing.
That's a really good. How many people didn't know there was tenants insurance? Yeah, so there is something called tenants insurance too that you might want to look, like if you don't have a lot and if something ever happened or you were burgled and or thieves broke in or you broke and entered, and you're not going to lose that much, that's okay. You might want to pursue it though. It's amazing how much your stuff is worth that you don't even think about, right? Like our clothes, our dishes, our furniture, right? So something you might want to think about like as you're taking this course. So what we're going to do here is there's all different things that you have to consider when you're purchasing insurance. So this will be really valuable for a lot of people in this class. So let's read this. Property insurance protects the owner of the property from financial loss in the event of damage or loss of the house or belongings. I'm actually, I think this should be not just house, it's not just for houses, it's for anything in your rental property too. Banks won't release the money for a mortgage until proof of property insurance is given. In short, the bank wants to be sure. So that's what I was talking about with the, just with the home insurance, right? But it should be noted that renters might also wish to insure their belongings with property insurance. The main difference is your tenant's a renter, so that's another, right? These words are sort of mean the same in this, okay? A renter and a tenant might want to insure their belongings. The main difference is the tenants are only insuring the contents of the room or the building, but homeowners must cover the building and its contents. So it's a little muddy still, I think. So tenants insurance insures the belongings. Does that make sense? Only. So if you're renting an apartment in a traditional apartment building, your tenant's insurance will just cover what's inside your rooms, right? If you're renting a home, it's going to cover all your belongings in the whole house, right? But it's not insuring the actual house itself. The person who has the property insurance on that house is your landlord, right? Whoever you're renting the house from. That person, the landlord, has taken out house insurance. So if a fire happened, let's say, I hate even saying it, but let's just say you're renting a home and a fire destroyed the property you were renting. The person who owns the home would have insurance to rebuild, but your insurance would cover all your belongings. So you could replace your furniture, your clothes, your dishes, all that stuff, okay? All right. So several factors come into play when determining the correct type and amount of insurance. So moving ahead, if you were making a study sheet for this particular unit, you should be able to talk about factors that affect rental insurance. So these are bolded because these are important topics to think about, and you should be able to describe these and how they would affect insurance. So interesting, and this is for home insurance, the location of your property matters. The closer you are to fire hydrants or fire stations, the less you pay. That makes sense, doesn't it? So it's hard to think outside of our own little, I guess, perspective. But if you lived in the country, the more remote you live in the country, the higher your insurance is.
So, are we gonna have questions like that?
Yeah, 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 yeah. And that makes sense, right? You might think living in the country, oh, the insurance would be lower, but actually, if you live in a very remote community, not close to any fire hall or any fire truck or volunteer fire brigade, if your house caught fire, chances are it would probably burn, right? So that's a higher risk. The closer you live to fire stations and fire halls, the lower your insurance will be for that particular category, right? Coverage, that's something you can choose. You can pick in our insurance world, you can pick either standard or comprehensive, and it sort of means what you would think it would mean. Comprehensive provides coverage against more hazards and therefore has a higher premium, and that means higher premium is more expensive. Standard is standard, it's your basic insurance. Comprehensive would cover more, and we could talk about those extra things that it might cover later on. The deductible, if you've ever had AutoPack, you know what a deductible is, and it means the same thing here. But the deductible is the amount that you pay before the insurance company will pay your claim. In real life, there are many deductible levels. Common deductibles are $1,000, $500, and so keep that in mind. There are common deductible levels. A lower deductible makes your insurance premium increase. A lower deductible is more expensive. That's what that means. Has anyone had any experience with deductibles? Yeah? Cynthia? With cars or houses? Automobiles. So what does that mean? What's a deductible?
Basically, the amount you pay to have autopack pay for the rest of the
Yeah. So what that means is, unless you're not at fault for autopack, right? But what a deductible is, if something happened to my house, let's say I had, actually this did happen to me once. We had one of those hailstorms. Remember those really hard little pellets? They were really large, and they just damaged all my shingles on my roof. So the insurance company came and checked my roof and determined that what was caused, like it's a natural cause, but they replaced my roof, which is huge, right? It's a huge expense. But I didn't have to pay any of the repair except my deductible, which at this moment, I think it was a $500 deductible. I had to pay $500. So even though something happened to my home that wasn't my fault, it was weather related, that's still what you do, still have to pay some kind of a cost. And I think I chose a $500 deductible, so that's what I had to pay. If I would have, now let's just say I had two choices when I bought my home insurance. If I would have chosen a $200 deductible, that would have been better for me, right? I should have chosen a $200 deductible, because then I would have only had to pay $200 when my roof was damaged, right? So you're probably thinking, that was silly, Kim. Why didn't you pick the $200 deductible? There's a reason I didn't pick the $200 deductible. Sadie?
Did it not cover the natural damage?
No, it didn't. And I think that that's changed a little bit in the insurance community, because they call it acts of God, and acts of God sometimes aren't covered. Yeah. So why didn't I pick the $200 deductible? It was cheap, like it would have been cheaper for me. Yeah?
Because it actually costs more than the premium.
Yeah. You have to pay your insurance every year. It's just like autopack. You can either pay it monthly or yearly. If I would have chosen that at the very beginning, that would have been great when I made the claim, but it would have cost me more every month. Okay, so there's always a trade-off, right? I chose to go with the higher premium. That meant my overall insurance was cheaper, because luckily for me, nothing really much, I should knock on wood, nothing much has happened to my home. I haven't had to make a lot of claims. If I had to make a lot of claims, then I probably should stick with a $200 deductible. But I would rather pay a higher deductible and then lower every year for my mortgage. Okay, discounts. This is really important to know. Many policies include different types of discounts. Some of these include, if you installed a fire or a burglar alarm in your home, you get a discount. Carbon monoxide detectors, you get a discount. Claims free, that means you haven't made a claim, like you're not always phoning the insurance company, getting them reporting a claim. If you're claims free, you get a discount. Okay? Sometimes your age, meaning, and I'm just going to say this, sometimes, not all the time, senior citizens, seniors get a discount. So there is a little bit of ageism there. Sometimes they'll give, like, yeah, I say discount to senior citizens. Make sure you ask about discounts if you're thinking of buying. And you can get your insurance from lots of different insurance agencies, right? It's not like AutoPack, which is government run. You can get your insurance wherever you, like any sign in a strip mall has lots of insurance. So if you've got a neighbor that sells insurance or someone that you know, yeah, just go talk about insurance, tenants insurance, and see what they say. Now this is fairly recent, meaning in the last 5 years or so, they started charging PST on all kinds of property insurance. So we have to remember to add PST onto property insurance. Now, Tim, you asked me, are these types of questions included? For sure, but remember you can put these on your study sheet too, right? Little notes to yourself.
Where is the study sheet?
Well, you make your own up.
Oh, okay.
I gave you the pink one, right?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. So you have that one, and then you have your own study sheet that you can bring in anytime. Okay? So before we do some examples. Yeah. I just want to say on page 19 and on page 20, they're both insurance charts. Okay, you're going to be here tomorrow? Okay, thank you. Okay. two insurance charts, one small, one big, but we'll see why that is. And unfortunately, we're going to be flipping back and forth between them. But the first one is tenants package. So that's probably why it's smaller, right? Because there's less to think about when you're renting. When you're renting, you're not owning, all you're doing is insuring your property, like within your own little room or your own set of rooms. So this is another word, I'm just gonna, renters insurance. The reason we use the word tenants is because that's what's used in the industry, and that's what, if you ever go get insurance for yourself, you would be asking for tenants insurance. Okay, so let's just look at the chart first to familiarize ourselves. Coverage amount, and then all areas in Manitoba. So tenants insurance is the same throughout Manitoba. It doesn't change wherever your location is. And that kind of makes sense because even if you're far from a fire hall, that doesn't affect your, like what's in, like what you're, like the clothes you wear or the furniture you have. Does that make sense? You're not insuring the home itself. Your landlord is. So they're just concerned about the amount of the price of the contents you have in your particular room or house that you're renting. So coverage amount. This means coverage amount. This is the value of your belongings. So if you yourself are interested in exploring this further, you'd have to kind of figure out in your head, well, how much is all my stuff worth if I kind of added it all up? So you have to add up your any technology you have, like TVs, your bed, your clothes, your dishes, things like that, your kids' stuff, and come up with a number. It's kind of hard, but come up with a number. And probably not what you're going to have to think about is not even what it's currently worth, but what you would have to pay to replace it, right? Because those are two different costs. Like if you have to go buy all new clothes for yourself and for your child and all the other stuff you need to live, how much would you need to insure? Now, it only goes up to $75,000, but you can go beyond $75,000, and it says for each additional $1,000, so each additional $1,000, we've seen this per thousand thing before, you're going to have to add either $4.50 for every $1,000 or $5.50, because again, we have standard and comprehensive. So when you go to get your tenant's insurance, for example, you decide you want it, you go to get it, you're going to have to come up with two big decisions. How much is your stuff worth? And do you want standard or comprehensive? So standard, I'm just going to write down here too, so you'll have these notes too on the blog. Standard is cheaper, and you can tell, look, if I only wanted to insure $25,000 worth, my yearly amount would be $158 for standard or $200 for comprehensive. So this is cheaper, and this is more expensive. And the reason it's more expensive is because it covers more. It covers more situations and more things. I know that sounds really weird, but under comprehensive, they cover things. And again, insurance policies are pages and pages and pages long. So if you go and sign up for tenants insurance, these rates are a little outdated, so I'm not sure what the rates are now, but it's not super expensive to get a little bit of tenants insurance. So that might be something you want to just check out, right? Just to make sure you're a little safe. But some of the things that comprehensive would cover over standard would be, the one I remember that might be valuable for people is suspicious loss. So that would cover, let's say you had a party and you had a bunch of people over, you knew some, you didn't know some were strangers, and then you clean up, you go to bed, you wake up the next day and you say, oh, you know what? That necklace my mom gave me is gone. Right? Someone might have gone to the bathroom and slid into your room and grabbed something. That's called suspicious loss. You can't really prove when it went missing or who took it, but you have it's something sneaky. So comprehensive would cover stuff like that. Standard is just your bare bones, you know, a break-in, a fire, or something like that. Okay, so those are the little differences that comprehensive can cover. But that's something that a good insurance agent will go through with you, and they will help you decide what's better for you. The only thing I draw your attention to is this is a $500 deductible chart. That means if you choose 500 deductible, the more expensive one, like the one that I chose when I was getting my home insurance, it is a higher deductible because the rates are a little cheaper. But let's say you just have had bad experiences and you've had to make some claims. You could jump to a $200 deductible, and they don't give us a new chart for that. All they say is for a 200 deductible, we have to increase the premium by 10%. So we add 10% on to the above costs in the $500 deductible chart. I guess they could have manufactured a whole new chart for us, but they just made it easy on that. Now, and again, you don't memorize charts, right? These are just given to you all the time, so you'll just always have this chart to use for an assignment. And also, I would give you the part of the chart you need on any test. Now, all of these numbers here, like above the per thousand thing, this is another thing that students can't get over at the beginning, I think. These are yearly amounts. Okay? You pay this once per year. That's it. You pay this amount. You pay one of these, I guess, one of these amounts once per year. I think my insurance is due in November. That's when I first signed up for insurance. So every October, just before Halloween, I get a little reminder, your insurance payment's due, so I have to pay, I pay my amount in November. I'm not sure if there's any monthly things set up, but for our purposes, these charts are yearly amounts, okay? So you don't have to do any adjusting. If I said to you, I want renter's insurance, I want to insure myself for $50,000 worth of property, and I want comprehensive, this is what you would tell me. Okay, that will cost you $324 a year, and then you'd add the 7%. That's it. That's how easy it is. So initially, like, basic insurance is easy. It's just picking the number off the chart. Okay? All right, let's go to the homeowners. That's a bigger chart, and we'll see why in a moment. Many things are the same, so let's look at this. What do you notice right away, though? Besides, there's more columns. The area, it's divided into areas. What else? What about these numbers? Yeah, tenants stopped at 75. Houses are starting at 75, and they go up to 200. Now, the average home price in Winnipeg is $250,000. So these charts actually are a little outdated. The reason they're so much more expensive is you're insuring for the house itself, like to rebuild the house, and the property, and like the garage, and the driveway, and all that stuff, and all the stuff inside the house, right? So you're insuring the home and the property inside. Again, if they go over, if house and value of the house and property is worth over 200, we have to add additional amounts on. So I'm going to just make sure you realize that, and we'll use the same process for the tenants and the homeowners. And again, if this is for a $500 deductible, because that's our starting out deductible. If you want a $200 deductible, we have to increase all the costs by 10%. These are yearly amounts again. So again, you have to just come up with, you really only have to come up with two decisions again. How much money your home and property is worth, and do you want standard or comprehensive? You don't get to decide on the area, because that's something that the insurance people will know. Metro Winnipeg means the city of Winnipeg. Area 2, and you'll always be told in the question what area they are, but just in a nutshell, Area 2 would be the suburbs of Winnipeg. You know how many people live in the downtown area or in the city? And do you live close to a fire hall? How many people live close to a fire hall? Do you even know? Like, there's fire halls, like we have one on Jamestown, Osborne, right? Like there's fire halls in every little neighborhood, agreed? So you're never really that far away from a fire hall. That's Metro Winnipeg. Now I move to the suburbs. I maybe move to the newer developments. In the newer developments, they don't have the same, you know how they don't have the community pools out there. They don't have the fire halls. They don't have local police stations. That would be an area 2. Area 3 would be the sort of the more bedroom communities outside Winnipeg. An area 4 or small towns, maybe without a fire hall, but with a volunteer fire department. Area 4 is remote, not near anything. So very, very rural. You don't have to worry about figuring that out. The question will tell you. That's just for your own purposes, okay? All right, so we will actually get to do some math in a moment. I'm going to get you to read this on your own. Maybe I'll assign that for homework. A closer look, you can read about premiums, deductibles, and claims free. I've already talked through it, so I'm going to get you to read a little deeper if you want there. And let's go to our first example then on the bottom of page 21. Okay, does anyone have any questions before we start the math? No? Okay, Shania owns a home. Okay, so that's important because we know that it's going to be homeowners. She did not move, but in 2018 her house insurance premium was $150 less than what she paid in 2017. Provide as many reasons you can think of to explain why premiums were lower. Why do you think her premiums might have been lower? Any idea? There's no right or wrong answer. Maybe she became a senior, right? Okay, she might have become a senior citizen. Is that what you meant, Diana?
Yeah.
And got a age discount. Dee, you said the value of her house? Yeah, maybe the value of her home and belongings. She wanted to insure less. That might have gone down in value. The value of her belongings. Didn't say, yeah. The value of her insured amount, I guess, may have decreased.
Maybe she never made any claims.
Yeah, that's a good one. She might have received, just like she might have automatically become a senior, she might have received a claims-free discount. It's kind of like something you might get for being like a great customer at at some place that you visit all the time, and if you're a really good customer, they give you a little bonus or a little gift. It's kind of like an insurance company's little gift. Oh, she's never made a claim. And that's really, insurance companies value customers like that, because what those customers are doing, they're paying their insurance premium every month, and they don't ever have to make a claim, so it's basically free money insurance company, right? So that's a couple of reasons. Are we good? Okay. So the last one, she might have received a claims-free discount. Or maybe she installed a...
Carbon monoxide?
Yeah. She might have installed a carbon monoxide detector. A carbon monoxide alarm, or a burglar system. That's something a lot of people might not do right away, but that's something that many people are starting to do more and more of. Install a burglar system, and once you do that, the company usually reminds you to contact your insurance agency so that you can get a discount. Okay, these will all be on the blog, so I'm just going to flip the page. And I think we get to finally do some math with numbers. Okay, page 22. Sophia Rose pays $1,350 each year for her home insurance. She has a $500 deductible. If she makes no claim during any single year, she receives a 15% discount on next year's premium. She didn't make claims. In the first year, she didn't make any claims. In the second year, she had to make a claim. Calculate the total amount she had to pay to the insurance company over the 2 years. Okay. So let's try this. I've got first year. I'm going to leave a big space. Second year. She pays $1,350 for her home insurance. I'm wondering if they've included the 7% in that. What do you think? Do you think they're saying that's her total with the 7%? What do you think, Jane?
I don't think it's there.
Do you think the $1,350 includes the 7%? You don't know?
Maybe no.
Yeah, I don't know. What do you guys think? I could go either way on this. It's including the 7%? That's her total? Okay, so we're saying that they've totaled everything up and that's the total cost. Okay, so I'm just actually going to make a note of that because another teacher might interpret it a different way. We're going to say this is the after-tax cost. That means everything's been included. We don't have to worry about anything. Okay, so $1,350 was her after-tax. She has a $500 deductible. She makes no claim during the first year. Okay, so her first year cost is $1,350, right? Didn't have to do any math there. Okay, in the second year she had to make a claim. So this is tricky. So she makes no claim during she received in their next year's premium. Okay, so in the second year, her cost should be 15% less than $1,350. I'm a little confused about this question, to be honest.
The first one that is less than. The first one, the first year.
Okay. Okay, so we'll do that, Jane, because otherwise it doesn't make sense. Okay, sorry. Scratch this out for a minute. 1350 less 15%. So the first thing I have to do is find 15% of 1350. Yeah, I don't know. Yeah, so they're doing like Jane said. Okay, because it doesn't really make sense to do it any other way, right? Okay, so I just need my calculator. Here we go. So how do I find 15% of 1350? You remember that? 0.15 times 1350 is 202.50, right? This is what's called the discount. Okay, so the cost of the insurance is $1,350 subtract 202.50, which equals 114,750. Okay. And I'm not worrying about this is what I'm not worrying about the 7%, so this is the cost of the insurance in the first year. First year cost. Okay. Okay, let's do the second year cost. In the second year, she had to make a claim, calculate the total amount she had to pay to the insurance company. Okay, so in the second year, she had to pay her $1,350, right?
Does that include the deductible when she paid it to the insurance?
No, because I think I'm doing that in the second year.
Yeah, I was thinking that that's what she had a discount of 2%.
Yeah. So in 13, I know this is a really badly worded question, I think. So in the second year, she had to pay her $1,350, right? Plus her $500. Agreed? Because in the second year, she had to make a claim. So that's where she pays her $500, right?
I got, you know, $1,350 and then the
I know, that's how I understood it first. Yeah,
Well, she would have lived the first year, and then she paid it at the end of the first year, right?
yeah.
And then she would get the 15%.
Well, that's what I was going to do the $1,350, and then Jane said this way, right? I don't know. In the end, it's gonna be the same cost. Do you understand what I'm saying? Yeah. So, in the second year, that's what she had to pay.
When you get insurance, do you pay the deductible first? Like,
Yes.
so you got it in November, you pay the deductible, and then you move in? Or at the same
No,
time?
you only pay the deductible when you make a claim.
No, sorry, the unit cost.
Yes,
So the $1,350, you would have paid that
Yes.
when you moved in, and then
Yes.
you paid the unit.
yes,
So the 15% would have came out of the second year,
agreed.
but then on the third year, she would have paid the normal price because she
Yeah.
can't pay that.
I agree with you, which is what I started to do. But then I changed it because I took a poll and I shouldn't have. But the total insurance for 2 years is,
2,997.
yeah, is $1,147.50. I think I should have just stuck with my first way, right? Plus $1,850. So $2,997.50. Agreed? I think it was the first way I was doing it. I think this is a really badly worded question, and I would just clear up I think we should clear up the wording before we print these books next time. But at the end of the day, the numbers stay the same. Okay, so let's just kind of shake this down. 1 year she would have had to pay the full cost, right? The $1,350.
Yes.
1 year she got a reduced rate, so 1 year she got the $1,140.50. Agreed. But there's also an extra cost of $500. Agreed. So in total, she would have paid $2,997.50 for the 2 years. Okay? What we have to see represented here is 1 full year cost, 1 reduced rate cost, and the deductible. The deductible is something you pay when you make a claim, only when you make a claim. If you have insurance for your house and you never make a claim, you've never, ever, ever made a claim, you never have to pay the deductible. Okay? So, I think the way the question was worded, it should have been the other way around as well, but regardless, I'll just leave it like this and we'll just agree that the wording was really hard to understand. But the math is correct, right? Okay, let's not fixate too much on this one because this is really not the important part of the whole day even. This is the important part of the day, and I want to get to at least one example of just calculating how much insurance to buy. So Menachem has $40,000 worth of tenant's insurance on his belongings. If a fire damages $6,000 worth of his stuff, how much will the insurance company give him after he pays his deductible?
You have to know the deductible to know that.
No, it says after he pays his deductible, so don't worry about the deductible. Okay, he has $40,000 worth of tenant's insurance, but $6,000 got damaged. He makes a claim. How much are they going to replace? Yeah, they will replace $6,000 worth of stuff. It doesn't matter how much his insurance is for. It's whatever was damaged, right? Whatever he puts the claim in for. If a fire does $40,000 worth of damage, how much will they give him? If the fire does $50,000 worth of damage, how much will the insurance company give him? $40,000, right? And they're telling you, don't worry about the deductible. They will replace only $40,000 worth, right? Whoops, only $40,000 worth. The limit of his insurance, right? The limit of his coverage. Unfortunately, he didn't purchase enough coverage. Okay. Walter and Jess live in two houses right beside each other. They pay different amounts. Brainstorm reasons why they pay different amounts. They live in identical houses right next door in the same neighborhood, the same distance from a fire hall.
One can have more stuff in one place than
Yeah.
the other.
One has more property or belongings, right? Yeah, like maybe one house could be more expensive to replace. I suppose that could happen in a neighborhood, right? Yeah, it didn't say the houses were identical. Okay, so one house could be more expensive to replace, meaning it's worth more, right? That happens. Sometimes you drive down a home and there's a gorgeous home next to like a more rundown home, right? Maybe someone hasn't been upkeeping their property as well as another neighbor. So if they both went up in flames, the nicer home would be more expensive to replace because they probably put nicer siding on it and they had nicer landscaping and maybe they put a nice brick driveway in, stuff like that. So there's lots of reasons. I'm sure you could come up with more, right? We are going to do let's do one example with numbers, and then we'll let insurance stuff will just percolate for you guys for a couple of days, and maybe you can even think about pursuing getting your own tenants insurance or exploring that a little more too. Now that you know that such a thing exists, I guess. Let's just look at example 5 just before you go. Because I think the hard part was doing all those definitions, right, and thinking through. Let's talk about example 5. Joan rents an apartment and is looking to purchase $65,000 worth of standard insurance, $500 deductible. Calculate her annual premium. I want to leave off in a good note because it's not very difficult. Yeah. So this is all the important info. I need to know how much. I need to know if it's standard or comprehensive. And I need to know her deductible. Calculate her annual premium. Okay, I have 2 charts to go to. Am I going to homeowners or tenants? Yeah, what was the giveaway? Rents an apartment. Okay, so that's the first decision you make. You flip over to tenant. And then I look for $65,000 standard. So 65 standard, 500 deductible, so that's good. It's the number right from the chart. So 315. So she pays. And that's her annual cost. And actually, if we didn't have to worry about the PST, we'd leave it like that. But I have to say it's the 315 and I have to add my 7% on. Okay, let me know how you add your taxes on. I'm going to show you the shorthand way that I do in my classes, and you can tell me if this makes sense. I know that I have to find out my PST. What's PST in Manitoba? 7%. Yeah, PST is 7%. That's the decimal number 0.07, right? The shorthand way is, if I want to come up with the total right away, I don't want to just add the 7 or find the 7%. I actually want to find the 7% and add it to the original 315. So adding the original 315 on, if I just put a 1 here, right? If I 315 times 1 gives me my 315, and then the 7.07 gives me my PST. That gives me my subtotal right away. So I don't have to do any extra steps. So 315 times 1.07, she will pay $337.05. That's it. So in the end, it's not that difficult, right? Okay, we're going to put a pin in this here. We'll pick this up again on Tuesday, right? It's the long weekend. But tomorrow I'm going to give you an in-class assignment on GDSR, finding a mortgage payment, and blended payments. So come with all your notes and stuff because you need them.